Let's try that again. Jeez. Oh, jeez. Go ahead.
Yeah, the record thing's visible now.
All right, go ahead. They don't know what happened.
Welcome to the Morning Ramble. I'm Matt.
I'm Eric.
And this is our new set.
That's right.
It feels a little bit deja vu-y saying this because we already started this episode before, but I guess Eric forgot to hit record on the camera.
It's normally I'm used to Skype.
We did kind of get used to that.
Yeah.
Basically, we're back on location.
Yep.
We just kind of got sick of doing, the
audio quality.
Yeah, the audio quality was bad. The sound quality was bad. I'm sure that there would have been better ways that we could have done it.
But we're lazy.
Yeah. And also, we're not going to, buy software to do things remotely because that's just not the kind of podcast that we are.
Nope.
And this is going to be weird to say just based off of things, but I'm kind of having a little bit of a stream of consciousness here.
Yeah.
A shout out to another podcast which has way more likes and stuff on Facebook than we do. Mm-hmm. It's called Interviews with Everyday People. I don't know if you've heard of it.
I did not until you mentioned it to me. But I went online and I saw they did have a pretty good following, and that's local, right?
Yeah, they're a local podcast,
yeah.
And here in either this week or the next coming weeks, I'm going to be a guest on that podcast, so that'll be fun.
Cool.
Kind of just spreading different podcast tentacles.
Podcast talking about podcasts.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit weird because it's like, hey, I've got a podcast. You've got a podcast. I've got a podcast. We've all got a podcast.
That's right.
Also, welcome to any new viewers that we got. Our viewership hasn't really been down.
We've been
significantly.
Surprisingly, we usually, we've been staying at about 24, I think, on average viewers.
Yeah, which is surprising, especially after the quality and sound.
But it stayed pretty strong.
Yeah, that was very surprising. So thank you for that. Mm-hmm. What other housekeeping do we have?
Well, so we're trying out some new stuff here. Obviously, our beloved lamp is gone.
Yes.
We're all sad. I wanted to try. I put in a TV. It probably doesn't look the greatest on the video, but this is our trial run. We'll see how it does. If we don't like it, I'll rip it off the wall.
Yeah, we'll just pretend that the TV never existed.
And the lamp will come back from the grave.
Yeah, and the lamp will just come back mysteriously. But instead of being on the table, we're going to bolt it to the wall.
Yeah, I'll put it on the TV mount. We'll move it around.
That way, if any one of us wants to say something serious, we'll just pull the lamp towards us.
Yeah, well, this is pretty much a cheap way that hopefully in the future, if there's any videos or, debates and stuff like that, maybe we can actually have some clips.
Yeah.
And I don't have to,
painstakingly edit them all in and over.
It's not even just that. It's just a matter of trying to find a copy of a video that because I have to pirate it.
Yes, that is
so
actually
difficult.
True.
It's
it
so
is difficult
difficult
to rip them.
Yeah.
Because you can find anything on YouTube, but then you have to rip it off of YouTube and then upload it and everything.
You can, there's software you can buy, but it's expensive, and I don't have it. So.
Yeah, we're not out to spend a ton of money on this podcast
or take any money away from anyone else.
Yeah. So I do have a story for us to start with. I don't have it on the thing.
He didn't send it to me.
I didn't send it to him because I've been really busy with work.
Yeah.
But Facebook's filters have been very strange recently. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. There has been a lot of misinformation, which I'm sure we will be getting into a little bit later here in the podcast. Mm-hmm. But this one was so funny to me because the headline is "Cute, but not objectively arousing. Pie too sexy for Facebook."
Interesting.
And that's the pie.
Okay.
The pie's up on screen now because Eric painstakingly edited it in.
Ugh.
And I'm just gonna read a little bit from the article.
All right, go ahead.
A Wellington pie has sent the Facebook censors into overdrive, being deemed too sexy to be advertised on the social media website. Wellington baker Niles Reinsborg which is a very British name,
Yeah, you can't get
started his company, Crafty Pies, at the start of this year, originally to supply cafes across the city. His plans were derailed when the country went into lockdown, but when Level 3 was announced, he was able to set up to do contactless delivery, primarily using Facebook to advertise. Sales soared, and he was selling hundreds of pies a week until the day he posted a picture of a Cypriot shepherd's pie on Facebook. And for some reason,
They did like that cover thing, or
they removed it.
Okay.
And said that it was too
explicit.
It was sexually
arousing.
Explicit, yes. Which is just it was the little light that I needed to get through that day.
Yeah, that's a little strange. Speaking of Facebook filters, I saw one that I've never seen before, and I know that in the news they talked about Facebook was going to crack down on misinformation and stuff like that.
Yes.
So someone created a meme, and they took a image from World War Z, the movie,
right,
and they put it like it was being reported from MSNBC as like the protest riots, which we'll get into later. And they're just like, look, they're lying about protests. This is World War Z footage, and Facebook covered it, and they're just like, in order to see the photo, you first had to click on this little paragraph, and it popped up and said, we verified, and this is not true. They never used footage from World War Z trailer. And I'm just like, it's a meme. But I guess nowadays maybe you have to do that because some people are that gullible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you see the Zuck's stance on that?
No, I didn't.
He specifically went online and said that he does not think that Facebook should have to go through and verify information.
Okay.
So in response, a bunch of people just decided to post fake stuff about Mark Zuckerberg. And they did, and it was great. And he hasn't responded since. It's been kind of weird.
Interesting.
Silence from the Zuck.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I kind of agree with him, but no, I agree with him because I mean, like, gosh, do we have to parent everyone? Like, you know what I mean?
Do we though? I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. It's a strange world right now because like there are people, and I'm going to say something that we're probably going to say quite a bit here on this podcast today. On both sides, which I don't really believe in a two-side thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there can be people who are, for certain things in this regard, against certain things in this regard, yada, yada. That's my little disclaimer.
Okay.
There are people who are sharing things, then there are people who are going on and saying, hey, man, I looked into this, not true.
Okay.
And then there are people that are just like, I don't care. I don't care what's true anymore. They're just sharing things.
Yeah.
So it's like, because a lot of people get a lot of their news from Facebook, which sounds wrong, then maybe it should have to be verified.
Because you're viewing them almost like a news outlet, like a journalism.
But here's the thing.
But, yeah.
If Facebook was just a social media site and they said that they were just a social media site, I'd probably be like, yeah, no, you don't need to police them. Mm-hmm. They're not saying that they're a news site. But if you go onto Facebook and you scroll over, which I'm not actually doing, I'm just miming right now.
I have this memorized.
And you scroll over, I actually did do it.
Oh, okay.
And if you look closely, you'll see a news tab. Facebook is a news site.
And it's definitely, I wouldn't consider it just a social media site because I think for a lot of people, including myself, it's almost like it's a home page for the internet.
It is.
It's where I'm not saying everyone uses Facebook because not everyone does. A lot of people, use a different app or they don't use any apps at all. But for, I would say, the vast majority of people online, it is like a home page. It's like, all right, let me check Facebook. Okay, now I'll go over to this website. Now I'll go to this app, whatever. But a lot of people use it as almost like the central area where they go on their phones.
It's like the first thing they click onto in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's just how it is. And so I do think that there should be some
I think there should be some
just because there is a news tab on there and
mm-hmm.
it's part of the site. Mm-hmm. And if there wasn't, it'd be different. But then again, Facebook has gotten so big, and I don't know how long have you been on Facebook?
Oh, jeez, I can't even remember.
I think it's been 12 years for me, roughly, maybe 13.
Probably, yeah. I don't know.
And I remember Facebook when it first came out. It's like you had your wall at first, and then you had your timeline, and things started evolving, and then all of a sudden, all right, now we have your memories page because they stole that from another app that they bought. And then now you've got Marketplace, a huge thing.
Oh, Marketplace
absolutely. Is gargantuan.
It's a big site to monitor. I mean, I think it's going to be hard. I think it'd be hard for them to monitor like pictures. Like, you know, because there could be, you know, you can't just leave it up to an algorithm. It's going to get stuff wrong all the time.
Yes.
But I think as far as, you know, links and stuff like that, I don't think it would be hard for Facebook to put on, you know, like a little warning or maybe like a little factoid about that website.
Right.
You know, kind of like YouTube does, like whenever there's keywords like COVID. Oh, I know a lot of YouTubers aren't saying that. Coronavirus. See, now it's going to be... If you look below where you're watching, you'll see a little wiki article or something. Like there's always something.
Very true.
As soon as you mention it. Did you have anything else? Any more sexy pies?
Crap, I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was. Let's move on.
All right, so let's get into the nitty gritty. Obviously.
Also, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Did that go into screensaver?
It constantly does, and I need to shut off the screensaver. Okay. They're seeing some scenic images, some trees. Again, I'm hoping it comes out nice and clear on video. We'll find out. So the first thing, obviously we need to talk about George Floyd, because so much has happened. We didn't do one last week, so 2 weeks ago was when we did our last Skype one. Mm-hmm. There's just too much information to dive into, and too much has happened. Obviously, we don't need to tell you what's going on because it's all over Facebook.
Yeah, you all probably know what happened
and what's
to George Floyd.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of focus on the officers right now because not many people are talking about the charges, at least not from what I've seen. It's always about the protest, which we'll get into. But I wanted to talk about what's going on with the charges. Now, obviously, the officer that killed George Floyd, was here, Derek Chauvin. He was charged first with third-degree murder and manslaughter charges. That happened, I think. Floyd was murdered on Monday. I think it happened like on Thursday, like 2 or 3 days later. Right. And then just this past week, it was actually up to second-degree murder, manslaughter charges, and the other 3 officers were arrested for, let's see here. I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. They are now charged with aiding and abetting second-degree murder and aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. So I know the terms first-degree, second-degree, third-degree felony murder are kind of thrown around a lot. Do you know the main differences between them?
No, I don't.
So I wanted to talk about it because, you know, I know I've heard like the family and you know, a lot of people who are protesting right now calling out for like first-degree murder and stuff like that. But I feel like there's maybe a little bit of misinformation. I know like you're thinking first-degree murder, that's like the most severe. But in court, it would be pretty much impossible to prove first-degree murder, and I'll explain why. So I have some of the definitions up here. So first we'll talk about first-degree or capital murder. So pretty simple, first-degree murder is the most serious form because it's premeditated, it's deliberate, and it's intentional. So premeditated means he planned it out. That person planned it out ahead of time. So it involves showing the defendant that actually thought about the killing before it occurred. Yeah, that's pretty much it, premeditated. I mean, obviously there's several videos. Have you seen like different angles?
Yes.
It's awful to watch. It's disgusting. So let's talk about felony murder, which is third degree. And there's only 4 or 5 states. Pennsylvania and Michigan are actually 2 of the few that have third degree murder. This was what initially was charged to the officer. So the definition here, it says, felony murder is a killing that happens during the course of the commission of a felony. The murder isn't necessarily planned out or intended. It's just the consequence of the other's offense. Even a death that is an accident will be considered a felony murder in most states if it happens while a felony is being committed. So that's a felony murder. That's what he initially was charged with, along with manslaughter charges. Manslaughter is pretty much almost, it's very similar. Again, I'm not a lawyer, obviously. Manslaughter is pretty much, your actions. They might have not been a felony, but your whatever actions that you took unintentionally took someone's life. So, and there's different degrees of manslaughter as well. And then, so now we know that he got bumped up to second-degree murder. And second-degree murder is the killing of another with malice, doing a harmful act without just cause or legal cause, but without premeditation or deliberation. Now, I know a lot of you, I just read that, they're just like, yeah, that sounds right. Right? Wouldn't you think so? I mean, malice.
I mean, it was certainly malicious.
Yes.
But the definition goes on.
Yes. If a person becomes angry, walks over to a desk, when he keeps a gun that, let's see here. So there was no plan or advanced decision to kill. It would still be second-degree murder because the act of taking out the gun and shooting was intentional. So the key word pretty much that I want to bring up with secondary murder is intentional. There was no premeditation. And what this little description here is trying to say is like, you're in here, let's say you're getting coffee or whatever, and someone spills hot coffee on you, and apparently you have anger problems, so you take out your gun and you shoot someone. You didn't plan on doing that today, but it was intentional in killing them.
Yes.
And I think that's where it gets a little sticky, I would say, for the prosecution when the trial comes, and also if there's a trial. I mean, there could be, a plea agreement. I don't know what's going to happen. Is that from that third degree to second degree, they're going to have to prove that he wanted to kill George Floyd and he intended on doing so in that time.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I mean, that's kind of one of those things. And honestly, when you have something that's so high profile as this, which I think it should be.
Oh, yeah.
People have a right to be outraged at this, and I certainly was. It took me a while to the reason why we didn't have a podcast last week was because I was so personally angered by it that I didn't think that I could control myself properly on camera, and I didn't really want to, burn bridges. So, basically, now that I've had some time to cool off and think a little bit more rationally, I think that depending on what the possible consequences of a third-degree murder charge are, which I don't know.
I think the maximum I think the maximum is 20 years.
Okay.
For a third degree.
How old is this guy?
40. I think it actually says it here. Oh no, it only has the ages of the other three. The other three are 37, 26, and 34. Oh, Chauvel, 44.
So he's 44. If he got the maximum thing, he'd be out at 64.
Uh-huh. Well, there's also manslaughter charges too. So
yes.
if he got the maximum, he would
added.
get quite a bit. That's if he gets the maximum.
The thing that frightens me about the possibility of them bumping it up to second degree is the idea that this guy could skate off and not be punished.
And that was my fear too. And I know a lot of people, because a lot of people were happy about it, but I just, I follow a lot of podcasters and journalists, and they're just, a lot of people are just like, that's going to be a hard case for the prosecution,
right?
Because you got to prove it in court, and to prove it he intended on doing it,
right?
A lot of people might say, yeah, of course he did. He was on his neck for almost 9 minutes, but at the same time, I mean, you got to prove intent, that he intended, that he knew he was going to die and he wanted to kill him,
right?
And
that's going to be a tough case for anybody. But here's the other thing about that: where are they going to find an impartial jury?
True.
They're not.
It's going to be hard, especially.
So I'm seeing in the future. I'm going to see if they don't do a plea.
A lot of mistrials, maybe.
I'm going to see a lot of mistrials.
Yeah.
Which is something that also very much concerns me.
Yeah.
About this particular case, I think that one of those guys fled.
Did they?
Yeah, I think it was that one.
Oh.
I'm not 100% sure on that one. But I think that he fled
I didn't pull the website. I just grabbed the screen. Oh, interesting. Because I was just thinking about the third degree and the felony charge, and I think that is an easy case to win. That officer was not in his legal right for any of that. I mean, you watch the video. We don't have to go into it, but I mean, you just watch the video. I mean, the guy I mean, there's no fight involved. There's no attempted to not be arrested. There's no wrestling with the hands. There's nothing.
I have gotten
It's
a lot
insane.
of this. I've gotten a lot of this response when I'm telling people about this. Yeah, but what did the guy do?
You know what? Here's the thing. So when this first happened, my first thought was, what did he do? But then I went immediately to, I don't care. Listen, this is the rule of law. I don't care if he just murdered someone. If he just murdered someone in a store and put his gun down, walked up with his hands raised, and put his hands behind his back, and you put cuffs on him, you don't get to kill him. Yep. That's not how the law works. So It doesn't matter what he did. But I wanted to look it up. Fraud. Like a check or something. Yeah. That's what. Are you kidding me? Like.
Yeah, that is.
Like, what is going on?
Yeah, when I told somebody about this, because this person, I'm not going to mention any names.
Yeah.
But this person had not heard anything. Had complete social media blackout. Had no idea. So I'm telling him about it, and he's just like, so what did he do? And everyone in the room was just like, almost nothing. Like, what?
But my argument is, it doesn't matter even if he did something.
True.
The fact of how much he complied, and also, even if he wasn't, let's say he wasn't complying, because a lot of officers use that technique to get you in handcuffs. Once you're in handcuffs, let's say he was on his neck for 2 minutes. Let's say he was on his neck for 3 minutes, and then he put him in the cruiser. We probably would have never heard of the name George Floyd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just crazy to me, like the circumstances, and also that, and actually that's another reason why I think the second degree charge is going to be so much harder. This guy was doing this in front of cameras, surrounded by people with his fellow officers. How are you going to prove intent?
Yeah.
Unless he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
What I mean?
The fact is...
Or a sociopath.
He may indeed not have... I don't actually think he intended to kill him because of all the cameras and stuff like that.
I don't think so either.
I don't think he intended to kill him.
I think he wanted to hurt him.
I do think he wanted to hurt him real bad.
I do.
And, if you hurt somebody really bad and you kill him, you still killed him.
Yep.
Like, there's no turning back from that. Once they're dead, they're dead. There's no bringing them back unless you're in a fantasy story, which would make a little bit of sense right now.
Yeah, it's crazy out there. So I guess that's a good segue. We could talk about the protests a little bit. There is just too much to digest when it comes to the protests. Oh, we're going to screensaver.
There we go. Screensaver, everybody.
I will shut that off. So I don't really have any pictures. I just have a little graph here, which we'll read in a sec. But I wanted to, the protests, I think that's where the most divisiveness has been from. It's not, I haven't found one, okay, I can't say one. I haven't found any professional journalist or high profile podcast or whatever, social media personality, whatever you call them, that had just said, oh, well, the cop was just doing his job. I haven't seen anyone say that. Now, people online just commenting, yeah, I've seen it, people are crazy.
Right.
But everyone's pretty much on the same page with this. Where it has come down to a split, which you were mentioning earlier, is the protests.
Right.
So everyone's, obviously, everyone's for free speech, everyone's for protests. And then, what we've been seeing now for the last week, and also, what the nation saw back in 1992 with Rodney King.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other ones in the past 2 decades, Michael Brown, all them, is just the looting and damage of public property and stuff like that. And I think that's where it comes down to. You have people who, and I know you've been watching a lot of the protests and stuff like that. Is like people agree, yeah, well, they're angry and no one's listening. This is not the first. This is one of many. And then you have the other people just like leave Target alone. So,
except for the CEO of Target.
Yeah.
CEO of Target was just like, I agree with them.
Yeah.
Burn down my Targets. That was a weird stance for him to take.
Target is a Target.
He did take that stance. He didn't say burn down my Targets. He was just like, I get it.
Yeah. Did you want to say what you think, or did you want me to go into this? Is something that I pulled up because I saw this. Someone shared this from Reddit, and this one matches my thought process so well. I wanted to share it. I think there's a misspelling, but whatever. Did you want me to go into this?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is something. It's like one of those diagrams. You can be here, that kind of thing. So first one, George Floyd's death was a murder, and the cops responsible should be in jail. Everyone's in that bubble. The police system is structurally corrupt and regularly refuses to prosecute cops. Again, you would have to live in a hole in the ground if you didn't know that. Looting and burning businesses is immoral and counterproductive. People who do this should go to jail. I'm in that bubble. And then the next one, mass protests and civil disruptions are legitimate and warranted actions. I agree. What do you think about all that?
This bubble here is the only one I sort of disagree with you on. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Because I am seeing like these small mom and pop businesses getting damaged, and that hurts me.
Yeah.
It hurts me a lot. But it's like people who say, "Oh, these rioters, that riots never get anything done." Mm-hmm. History. Look at it. America was started on riots.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing where I'm just like, do I want this to happen? No. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with it happening? No. Do I understand it entirely? Yes. I get it. When you feel like you're powerless and you feel like you're powerless to step in and do something to reform your country, I get the anger. And I felt the anger. But on the same side.
Well, no, let me bring you over. I was kind of torn between those two as well, because I started off being very annoyed, and then I kind of like, so back in the past I've thought of protests like, get out of the road, leave people alone, just stand on the sidewalk and be fine, and that's how I've pretty much held my views for my whole life. And I think this is the first time where I'm just like, I'm really annoyed that and it doesn't matter who's doing it, but it's funny. I see a lot of like scrawny white like teenage kids. Like,
I think that's just our area.
Yeah,
that's
like,
our area.
Like they're just they're the ones causing the most damage.
I literally drove through it through a protest today, and I was just like, there is not one black person in this group. No. But that's because it's Shamokin, PA, and there's just not a lot of minorities there.
But with this, where I came down is that like if the protest started and people were protesting at like the police stations or government buildings or where the laws are, where your representatives are working, and some damage was done, and people couldn't drive past them, and roads were blocked off, and police cruisers were surrounded with peaceful protests. I completely agree with that. I wouldn't. Ferris wheel. I completely agree with all of that. But when I've seen so many videos of people like this old woman trying to protect her shop and some guy's beating her with a 2x4. Yeah. Like, what is happening? And then
that's disgusting.
It's insane. And then there's other ones where this past I think it was 2 days ago, someone tried to break into a gun shop in Philadelphia because they're morons, and the owner was there, and they pulled a gun on the owner, and the owner shot him dead.
He's protecting his property.
You're trying to loot a gun store. He's not going to let you take anything. But anyway, it's just like when it starts getting to businesses and livelihoods, and and it's not like you're affecting your communities. So if you live in a very dense black community, those are black businesses and people, and that's where your friends, relatives, and neighbors go to shop. You're just hurting yourselves. You're not doing anything. But I think as far as, if they were just targeting like government buildings, the police especially, because they're the ones, those are the people that are responsible, especially your representatives. I agree with that. So that's why I like the way they worded that: mass protests and civil disruptions. Block the highway, block the roads around those places. And I think so. I don't think we veer that far off. Do I care that much about Target? No, but at the same time, I saw a video of some overweight white woman with like 4 lamps running out the door.
That was so funny.
I lost it.
Somebody photoshopped that moth onto her face.
Okay,
the moth meme.
I didn't see that.
Oh, it was funny. Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand. Like, we get it. I actually. My town, Bloomsburg, had a protest the other day, and honestly, I totally whiffed on it, completely forgot that there was a protest going on.
Yeah.
So we were just like, oh, well, let's go to Dollar General.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't turn right on Market Street.
Nope.
So,
But one thing also that I've been seeing more of, and I wish the news would show these more, and I wish people would share these more, other than, you know, the stuff that's happening, is like I've seen so many videos now of people trying to deface public property, and the protesters would come in. I saw this one, they just swarmed in this guy. He was trying to, like, I don't know if he was trying to bust out a street sign or something, but they swarmed him, grabbed him, and dragged him over to the cops that were on the road and gave them to him and walked away so that he would, you know, so they would arrest him for, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I've also seen ones where this one kid had a skateboard. He was trying to bust in at some door of a shop, and a bunch of guys came over and grabbed the skateboard and took it off of him. So, you know, it's hard to say. I don't know. I'm not there, so it's hard for me to say the majority are peaceful or the majority are violent. I don't know. But when I see videos,
would probably be pretty. It'd probably be pretty easy to say that the majority of the protesters are peaceful.
Yeah.
And then you have a few bad apples.
And then, obviously those make the biggest waves. You know,
They do. And that's similar to the way it is with the cops. Now, I don't agree with our criminal justice system in many ways. Which I think I've mentioned on this podcast several times. I think that there do need to be some pretty drastic reforms on that end. The least of which, one of the biggest of which should be that people who are upholding our laws in the streets should have to go to school for way longer than they do.
Yeah.
In a lot of places, an 8-week police school is your prerequisite to become a police officer. And it's like the people who defend people who break the laws and people who charge people to break the laws have to go to school for like 10 years.
Yeah.
The fact that a cop, the person who's on the street, goes to school for 8 weeks and they're just like, here's your badge and gun, go get him, kid.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous. I think that should be, at the very least, 2 years. Which I don't think is a very long time for a school, for a job that pays like a cop does.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a strong.
No, I agree. There needs to be a very higher sense of accountability and repercussions when stuff like that happens, because in any other job that is as serious as a police officer, I mean, you go to the military, every time you discharge your weapon in the field, I mean, there's like reports written. I mean, what, when, why, that kind of thing. I didn't get a chance to look in this bill, but this was on Thursday. It was just introduced by a Texas Democrat. I just wanted to bring it up though. So the House Democrats, they put up a bill called the George Floyd bill. And let me just read something real here. It would require every state, local, and federal law enforcement agency to provide data to the Department of Justice on the use of deadly force and against police officers, along with data on traffic and pedestrian stops. So more accountability, which we pretty much just said.
Right.
And, that sounds good to me. It is a bill for this moment in history. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely look into this more and see how far it goes. I don't know how much bipartisan support it has or what else is tied with it, because that's how things work. But just that little bit there, that sounds good to me. I mean, more accountability, I'm down with that, especially when you have that position in your state, especially. But yeah, do you have anything else to add on this stuff?
Not on this particular topic, no.
Okay.
Do we have anything else?
I have one more thing. But
what's the thing?
Candidate watch.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Who are they?
Really? Who are I have no idea.
So I wanted to, again, I don't know how long these two in the middle are going to be in it, but I just wanted to pull them up because I wanted to. So
I'm guessing Libertarian
in
the Green Party.
In the Green Party. There's actually one more party, but I didn't pull him in because he's like below the Green Party and like, come on. So yeah, obviously Trump, as you know, Biden, he's the Democrat. He hasn't been officially confirmed, but
it's probably it.
So the Libertarian Party, 2 weeks ago, I believe, they just confirmed their candidate, and her name is Jo Jorgensen.
What?
Jo Jorgensen, I think.
Jo Jorgensen.
Jorgensen, I think you pronounce it. So,
all right.
But I didn't look too much into her. I like some of her reviews. She wants to abolish the ATF.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
That's nice.
She's very pro-gun, libertarian. But if she gains some steam, obviously we'll talk about her more. And then
She's not getting steam.
And then the Green Party, Howie Hawkins.
Why did they both go with alliteration names?
I don't know. They purposely did. But anyway, I just wanted to do the colors. That's the only reason why I did it.
Okay.
So there's your candidates.
Great.
You're
Hooray.
welcome.
What a bevy of class and intelligence we have on display.
Listen,
here.
the Morning Ramble's different because we don't agree with the two-party system. We're presenting all the options for you.
Yeah, here you go. Joe
and Howie.
Joe.
Oh, Joe and Joe.
Trump or Howard.
It's actually Howie.
That's his actual name?
I think so. Hold on.
Wait, his name is not Howard.
It says Howie Hawkins.
Okay. All right, Howie. You don't have my vote, Howie. I'm sorry. I don't even care what your positions are at this point. You don't have my vote.
Yeah.
What do you think about we don't have anything for this on the thing. Sorry, everybody.
It's okay. I'll put up the logo.
What do you think about Trump's church photo op?
Oh,
that was a disaster.
You know, I'll be honest with you. I didn't even look into it that much. All I kept seeing was pretty much everyone who I'm friends with online that's a Democrat bring it up. I didn't see anyone else really bring it up. So I didn't know what was going on. All I know is it sounded like there was a protest going on in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
From what I know, that everyone was told that they had to disperse because the president was coming through. They didn't. So I guess they shot tear gas. Is that what they did?
Yeah.
And then Trump came over, talked for a couple seconds, held up a Bible, and went back.
In the lamest way possible, he held up a Bible. He was just like, yeah, it's a book. If you see a bunch of protesters and you're just like, well, I was gonna do a photo op, don't disperse the protesters. Like, that's stupid. It's bad PR.
It is very bad PR.
It ended up getting Trump's consultant, military consultant, just straight up quit after that. He was just like, no, I'm out. And different things this week have actually caused General Mattis, who we've talked about on the podcast before, General Mattis to officially denounce Trump. So, all around, not a good idea, that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care for it. I don't like it. I mean, why would he do it at that particular time? I don't know.
It's Trump brain. That's how he thinks. He looks at a crowd of people and he's just like.
From what I heard, and again, I don't have the source to back this up, but I read it at two different spots. So, from what I heard is that the protesters knew ahead of time that he planned on going over there to do a photo op, and they deliberately went over there. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just saying, I read that. I'll have to look that up. If someone else knows it's BS or whatever, you can comment below. Or if you have the source for that, that'd be cool too. If not, I'll go on my own and look for it.
I don't even care.
I didn't look into it. Yeah, but I
still think it's stupid that he looked at that crowd and was just like, disperse them.
Yeah.
I think that was stupid of him.
Yeah.
It just keeps pushing the wedge in.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't he come forth and be like, now is a time to be together? You know what? It doesn't even sound good out of his mouth. It doesn't.
Maybe that's why he didn't say it.
Maybe that's it. Maybe he knows that.
Maybe
he's way smarter than I give him credit for. And I'm sure he is in certain things. But when it comes to human beings, he just doesn't understand them.
Yeah.
Because he's had money for so long that he's 99% money. That's just who he is.
That's why he has gold hair.
Yes, the golden locks.
The golden locks. Golden locks.
This whole thing has soured me greatly on Trump. At first, I was pretty indifferent. I just hated his voice.
Are you riding with Biden? I saw that tag going.
At this point, I will vote for.
Are you in your wheelchair?
I will vote for literally anything.
Are you in your wheelchair? I'm riding with Biden.
I'm not riding with Biden.
I saw that tag. I'm just like, that is so corny.
Like, Biden has a lot to do to convince me that he's actually a good candidate. That's just a fact.
I'm guessing this isn't a good time to quote his quote. You ain't black. that was...
If that confuses you, watch last time's podcast.
Yeah,
oh my god. What a mess.
I saw a meme. It was like a picture of aliens like jumping up and down. They're just like, I'm so nervous. We're next for this year. That's funny.
Anyway, everybody, thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Morning Ramble.
Yep.
Coming to you from the Bunker Underground.
The Bunker Underground.
For some reason, my voice cracked there.
Where we will remain for the duration of 2020.
Yes, we will be here for all of 2020, and it will be sad.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye. How long was that?
Oh, crap. I hit record.
We'd have to do